What's up, guys? Here with you with FC Wonderkid, episode 104. Here with my guy, Bretson. How are you?
I'm doing well. Alex, but I don't think I'm doing as well as the city of Naples. Napoli waited not 104 episodes, but they waited 33 years to finally get their hands on the Scudetto once again. And I'm going to say it. We'll talk about it later, I'm sure, but there were two kings. There were two kings that led that. You know what? There were 11 kings and Spalletti and De Laurentiis. There are a lot of heroes. There are a lot of heroes in southern Italy right now, and before we go any further, you got to give it up for them. We're going to talk about how they did it later, but I got to ask, Alex, how are you? We've got Champions League, we've got Europa League, we've got all that good stuff coming back. How are you doing?
I'm phenomenal because we're going to have so many answers this week, okay? The next week is going to be so promising in terms of football. But I just want to mention, okay, Scottish League, we got a winner with Celtic, okay, winning the Scottish League.
There it is.
No surprise, okay? But the biggest win, yes, that was Napoli. They went extremely bold. But put down below in the comment section, who do you believe is going to win the Premier League, La Liga, hopefully everybody says Barca, and all the other leagues that we can talk down below. Okay, we will answer every comment, people, and don't forget to like this video, episode 104. Let's try to get more than 100 likes, people, because I'm gonna warn you, we are about to go bold on certain topics, and it's Champions League time. Champions League predictions. Okay, this is gonna be a bold matchup, an anticipated final between Real Madrid and Man City. First game in the Bernabeu, and what a time that it is to be a Real Madrid fan right now, because Real Madrid won Copa del Rey 2-1. Rodrigo Goes scored 2 goals in Copa del Rey. This is a big-time player that is following the footsteps of Cristiano Ronaldo, his idol, okay? And I want to say, Project Perez, Florentino Perez, Project Neymar, because he didn't get Neymar in the past, is working out. Vinicius, Rodrigo, Hendrick, all ballers. Eder Militão, Brazilian core. Brazilian core. So big credit to Florentino Perez for doing this stuff.
No misses. No misses on that one. But let's be honest, it has not been, you know, a straight up, an exponential, great development affair. Vinny took a while to get going. Rodrigo has taken a while to get going. But my goodness, the two of them on either wing with Benzema in the center, it is a beautiful, beautiful sight. And yet, I don't mean to kind of pop the balloon here in the room. And yet, they were just surpassed by Atleti in the La Liga standings. Because guess what? It's not about La Liga anymore. It's about, once again, vanquishing Pep Guardiola and Manchester City, and I think even more specifically Erling Haaland and Kevin De Bruyne, who are both kind of cooking right now, for lack of a better term. But yeah, back to Real Madrid. That win against Osasuna wasn't exactly easy, but one thing is for sure, I think Rodrigo is in that later season stage that he was in last season, because let's be honest, if it weren't for Rodrigo, they would not have that Champions League to their name last season.
True.
And we'll see if he can do the same thing against Manchester. Actually, hold on, refrain. Let me reframe that. Rodrigo's going to have to do that again. He has to be as dangerous or close to as dangerous as Vinny on the other side for them to have a chance to beat this in-form Manchester City squad.
That is factus.
Yeah.
They need an informed Rodrigo and informed Vinicius Jr. I'll say to this, Vinicius Jr. with 22 goals in all competitions this season is the most informed Brazilian, and City must be aware because he's about to go bold if they win the Champions League. It's Ballon d'Or talk right now. I'll say this, Vinicius Jr. in terms of one-on-one, the skill set, the technique, the speed, nobody beats him. He's the best one-on-one winger in the world right now. Left wing, Rodrigo, Vinicius, forever Galacticos. That's it.
Yep.
That's it. And the midfield too of Real Madrid. If Jude Bellingham signs for Real Madrid with Vinicius in front and Rodrigo set, Valverde, Camavinga, Tchouaméni, they'll have the best midfield too for the next decade. That is unbelievable by Florentino Perez to do this. And Florentino Perez will be remembered as one of the greatest presidents for a football club because he is one trophy away of surpassing Santiago Bernabeu, that is seen as one of the greatest presidents in the history of football too. So Florentino Perez is doing just that, okay? It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
So you're saying Estadio Florentina Perez in the future? Is that what you're saying here? Okay. Because we all know what happened to Bernabeu. It could be. It could be. But yeah, you listen, you mentioned Vinicius, and I almost think I get once again, kind of like with Erling Haaland and Harry Kane in the Premier League, how Harry Kane's 26 goals are just like because of Erling Haaland. Vinicius Jr., like his second consecutive season with 40 goal involvements. And not only that, both seasons, last season and this season, have been split pretty evenly between goals and assists. He can assist you, he can help you out, and he can also get it done on his own. But there's something that has really, really stuck to him this season that has made him go into that upper echelon of definitely top 3 attackers on the planet, right? Haaland, Mbappe, Vinicius.
Right now,
okay? Yes, right now. And when it comes down to it's a chip on his shoulder. It's I am always annoyed. And I don't know if that's his treatment in La Liga. I don't know if that is just his personality, his on-field personality that's coming out. But it is absolutely vital to how he plays. He plays to the whistle. He does whatever he has to do to get things done. And if it's beating a man one-on-one or if it's being a little liberal with his simulation, it doesn't matter. He gets what he needs to get done. This is not Vinicius, obviously, from 3, 4, 5 years. His first 2 seasons with Real Madrid, he had a little over 20 goal involvements. These last 2, 80 plus. So it's I honestly think the most we're going to sit here, we're going to talk about how do you stop Erling Haaland, right? I think there needs to be more talk about how does Manchester City stop Vinicius Jr.
Oh, completely. I completely agree with you. And Rodrigo goes too.
Yes.
But that's what you say. Vinicius Jr.'s mentality for sure is one of the biggest reasons for his skill set. And 2, Vinicius Jr. learned with Modric, Ronaldo. He learned with the best. He learned with the best with Real Madrid. So I completely agree with that point that you're saying about Vinicius Jr. and that top 3. It's fantastic that you're referencing that. And I just want to say last thing on my end. Look at this player. Look, I know Eden Hazard is one of the luckiest men, okay, to play for Real Madrid and to win complete football, basically. He's won everything. But there's another player, too, that has been winning everything with Real Madrid, and he will be remembered for just winning things at Real Madrid. Mariano Diaz has won 2 FIFA World Cup. Mariano Diaz has won 2 FIFA Club World Cups. He's won 3 La Ligas, 2 Champions Leagues, 1 Copa del Rey, and 2 Spanish Super Cups. Mariano Diaz. And he was the number 7. The number 7, okay, at a given time at Real Madrid. This man, come on, completed football. Mariano Diaz. So I just wanted, just wanted to say just that. But we got to reference City, though. Like, the biggest enemy ever of Real Madrid as a manager is for sure Pep Guardiola. Pep Guardiola must be, I can't even, he must be stressing so much about this game because the legacy of Man City is all dependent on this because they got Haaland. They got Haaland because of Real Madrid. They couldn't get it done. And this season, Pep Guardiola has already 1,000 goals. 1,000 goals for Man City in 404 games as a manager. The attention to detail, the pressure he puts his players. This is definitely one of the greatest to do it. So Man City want and need and demand. The Sheiks must demand a Champions League for Guardiola. So this is what it takes. Pep Guardiola will not leave Man City without that Champions League. I guarantee you. No. Guarantee you, especially when his brother is one of the biggest people in the Girona project. He is involved with the City group. And I wouldn't be surprised even if Pep Guardiola stayed long-term a lot of seasons at Man City and be remembered next to Ferguson. So that's what Real Madrid are competing against. Like Guardiola.
I don't know how you from infrastructure to money to the ability to do what you want, what you need. I don't know how Pep Guardiola is ever going to get as much autonomy as he currently has at Manchester City. So I'm right there. I'm right there with you. But with that said, we are rapidly approaching the time where everyone says that Pep Guardiola goes into over analysis mode. Right, where he starts to potentially defeat himself. I mean, as good as Eder Militao has been, as okay as the entire Real Madrid defense has been for the most part this season, even though they haven't gotten the results that they've wanted, Erling Haaland is going to get his chances.
I agree.
It's not if. It's not if, right? It's when. And it's really going to come down to Thibaut Courtois and whether or not he can make the saves that are absolutely necessary. And we all know, Thibaut Courtois can do it. We've seen it happen before.
That's a very good point, Bretson, because if Real Madrid managed to stop Erling Haaland in these two fixtures, both Thibaut Courtois and Eder Militao, respectively, will be considered the best players in their positions. Best center back, I still say Ronald Araújo, okay, in my opinion. But Courtois and Eder Militao could do just that against Man City. Great point.
Yeah.
Great point, Bretson.
It's gonna be. All I can say is that if for some reason the first leg winds up 3-0 in either direction, this thing's not over. It's not over. Nor will it ever be. Maybe 5-0 or something. But we've seen it before with the remontadas, the last gasp goals. We're in for a treat. And if you're not excited about this is football. This is football at its best. True. The narrative, I guess, the rivalry is more Guardiola versus Real Madrid than it is Manchester City versus Real Madrid these days. But it is rapidly becoming Manchester City as a team versus Real Madrid. Exactly. It's not quite like the other one, which is AC Milan versus Inter Milan, which we will get to in a second. But this is clearly the one that I'd imagine millions and millions and millions upon millions are going to be looking for this. Is this Guardiola's first not first real attempt, but if he makes it through to the final, we all think he's going to win. We think the winner of this semifinal, this has not changed, right, is going to win the Champions League final, correct?
I agree. But if it's not going to be Inter stopping, if someone stops, it's AC Milan. I'm that kind of giving a glimpse of what I think in that outer fixture.
Yes, but you are.
Just wanted to say, Erling Haaland with 35 goals scored in one season in the Premier League will be remembered forever, especially in his debut season. He's just getting started with Pep Guardiola, and he will be remembered as one of the greatest players to ever play in the Premier League. And once again, just getting started.
Yeah. Just getting started. Yeah, 22 years old. He's 22 years old.
Exactly.
He's 22 years old. It's absolutely unbelievable. What do you think about that whole dust-up?
The Gundogan.
During the Leeds match, the Gundogan, who had obviously one killer of a game. But Erling Haaland, for those that don't know, Erling Haaland was supposed to be the designated penalty taker. Guardiola wanted him to take the penalty, and Erling Haaland, because Gundogan was on a hat trick, Erling Haaland gave it to him. And Pep Guardiola had words for Erling, and he also had words for Gundogan.
He's a leader.
So, do you like that? I like that. I mean, it's
what I said. Like, Guardiola is all about attention to detail, and the detail said with the preparation, Erling Haaland is my penalty kicker #1, regardless. And I completely understand, because when they don't score that pen, they suffer. And in Portugal, we say, "Quem não marca sofre." Who doesn't score suffers goals. That's what we say, and it's so true. Like, the confidence went down immediately because of that decision. And they did win. They won 2-1. And I think for Haaland, it's all about learning. It's all about learning. And who's a better teacher than Pep Guardiola right now in football? I think it's very difficult to find one. And Kevin De Bruyne, too. Like, Kevin De Bruyne, he will be very, very important to beat Real Madrid. And let's see, Luka Modric against Kevin De Bruyne. That'll be interesting. The Modric, that will extend another season at Real Madrid. Great news. So Modric, Kroos, Benzema, they will stay Galacticos next season. So let's wait and see if Don Carlo Ancelotti wins the Champions League and Florentino Perez is really happy for him to stay another season. If not, Brazilian national team.
But they will not stay the first choice midfield at Real Madrid. I think this has got to be a more advisory role, a more locker room role, a more depth
I
role
agree.
for Modric. I mean, I know we've been saying it for years when it comes down to it, and he's been defying the odds and just beating us all back with how flippin' just timeless the man is. And he seems to age like fine wine, but I think, yeah, you gotta let go and let the Valverde, let the Tchouaménis, let the Camavingas, they've got to be able to step up.
That's true.
And they've got to be able to deliver long
And they
term.
are
But
stepping up.
I love that he did.
They are stepping. I agree, but I agree with you.
are.
With time,
Yeah.
Modric, he needs to phase out. And I think next season, especially if Bellingham comes, I think he'll be willing to phase out a bit in those games. And
But listen, but you say that they step up, right? Real Madrid has stepped up, but their depth and their reliance or their the freedom that would be given to the depth by Ancelotti, by the team in general. I mean, wouldn't you have said then that this was not some like miraculous season from Barcelona necessarily, right? Real Madrid dropped the balls multiple times. They should be able to fight on multiple fronts with the depth that they currently have, right? And they're now in third place in La Liga, 1 point behind Atleti.
That Benzema, like in given moments, you need depth in striker. You need depth in certain positions, and I do believe
They've had
in terms of forwards, Real Madrid, I think they need options. And I'm gonna say last thing on my end with Man City, it's Gundogan. Yes, he did score a brace and he missed that unfortunate pen, but Gundogan is one of the most complete midfielders I've ever seen in the Prem. He's underrated for how good he is. And he had 170 passes completed in that game. Ooh. The most by any player in the Premier League in one match this season. Gundogan is one of the best, once again, midfielders I've seen in the Premier League. Okay, he's very underrated. Very underrated.
Next stop, Dortmund.
Next stop, I think even Barca. I think even Barca, but let's see. Let's see. Barca needs to figure a lot of things, and I think they're in the process of doing just that. But the other fixture we mentioned with Milan Inter, okay? This is going to be a madness, okay? Because Mike Maignan is back, the best goalkeeper in Serie and the leader and the inspiration for that unbelievable Milan defense. Tomori, too, has 100 appearances for AC Milan. Southgate is criminal that you don't call him consistently. But I wanted to start with those two because they're key.
They are, but listen, Inter Milan is really revving up right now. They're revving up. They're peaking at the right time, and Lautaro Martinez is not to be messed with at all. Okay, he's got 5 goals, 2 assists in his last 4 Serie A matches. They're on a 4-game win streak. Okay, they're getting closer to Juve at second. They're getting closer to Lazio in third. And I honestly do believe that if Inter had a shot all season, they're coming into this with their best form. Okay, Bastoni's been good. Barella's been good. There's been a lot. DeMarco's been very good. Yes, I honestly believe that AC Milan is going to have a much tougher time than we might. I think we liked the story behind AC Milan, but I was a little worried. 10 minutes into that AC Milan match over the weekend, Rafa Leao had to depart. Now, hopefully that was precautionary. But we will find out soon enough whenever it was. But I need to bring this up because, my goodness, it was a trip down nostalgia lane. It was a trip back to like the birth of my kind of football fandom when I was younger. The last time Inter Milan and AC Milan played each other in a Champions League semifinal, this AC Milan 11 was absolutely terrifying. You had Kaká. You had Pirlo, you had Shevchenko, Cafu, Jaap Stam, you had Maldini, you had Seedorf, Crespo, Dida. I mean, just pure, wonderful nostalgia there. Inter, meanwhile, had Adriano. They had Zanetti, I think. Who else? Cambiaso, Varone. They had a good side as well, but this AC Milan squad was like one of the reasons why I fell in love with football. So... good stuff.
I love how you're mentioning that. I love how you're mentioning because not like that team. I want to say that. Not like that team. But we have some names that can become legends with AC Milan. And I just want to say Inter, Lukaku's picking up form. Di Marco is being one of the best fullbacks in Serie A lately. The form he's in for Inter, unbelievable. Barella Bastoni, Onana, one of the best goalkeepers in the world in form right now. Inter have reasons to go bold against AC Milan. But I'm going to reiterate, Rafa Leão, if he's in form, he'll be the best player in the two legs against Inter. I believe in this Rossoneri, especially when Napoli, with Vitor Roque, he will most possibly win the best player of Serie A. Rafa Leão doesn't want to be forgotten because last season he was that guy. So let's wait and see if in the Champions League he'll go bold like I'm predicting.
But hey, if Leão can't go, all you need is Theo Hernandez to unleash one of his full field runs. So I'm sorry, I just stole your thunder when it comes down to that. But if there was any fight behind who is one of the best or the best fullbacks in the world, Theo Hernandez is. He just raised his hand over the weekend and said that's me.
Theo Hernandez is the best left back in the world right now. No doubt. No doubt. It's not even informed. The importance he has for AC Milan. Completely.
Absolutely.
And 11, Champions League 11 of the season, Theo Hernandez is for sure the left back on that team. And he deserves that. He deserves that show. So we are both, this is the moment. So Man City, Real Madrid. We are going to pick who for this match?
Oh my gosh. My head is, believe it or not, telling me Inter Milan. My heart is telling me AC Milan. Inter Milan.
Real Bayern. Real Bayern.
What was that?
Real Bayern. Oh, Real Bayern. Real City. I'm sorry. Real Bayern.
Oh, City. Oh, we're starting with Real City. Apologies. I am going to say I'm sticking with it. Manchester City looks absolutely infallible at the moment, and it's going to take a heroic offensive threat ridiculous for them to forget that Erling Haaland is there. So I'm going to say Manchester City will get through Pep Guardiola in the final.
Okay, I like that. I'll say Real Madrid to be the opposite. And Vinicius Junior getting it done with Rodrigo, Benzema, Modric. Experience, I think, will matter the most in this match. But Erling Haaland against Militao and Courtois. It's about to go bold. And Milan, Inter Milan. Who are we going to go for? Who are we going to go for?
Okay. Let me repeat myself very quickly. My head is saying Inter Milan. My heart is saying AC Milan. I'm going to let my head win over on this one. I think Inter Milan is in great form. I think Lukaku, surprisingly, I know we've all kind of Harry Maguire'd the crap out of him this year, probably understandably so at times. I think Lukaku and Lautaro are going to be tough for AC Milan to corral. I'm going to say Inter Milan in the final against Manchester City.
Oh, I'm gonna go against that. I'll go AC Milan on this end. I believe in Rafa, Mike Magna, and Theo. But it's true, Inter are the best in form right now. But they had a big win too, AC Milan against Lazio, 2-0, but not 6-0 against Verona. I was shocked when I saw that. I was shocked. I wasn't expecting that for sure. But tell us in the comment section down below, who do you pick between Real Madrid and Man City? Not Bayern Munich, like I was saying. Me thinking it was the Bayern Munich of the past. Then Inter AC Milan.
We all had higher hopes for that Nagelsmann-led Bayern Munich, but that did not materialize, did it? But hey, these are two beautiful, beautiful fixtures, and I can't wait. Tuesday can't come fast enough.
That's great mention with Nagelsmann right there, because in 8 games in the Champions League, Nagelsmann had 8 wins. So let's wait and see. Put down below your picks, people. So now Premier League time. This league cannot stop going bold. Results here, and you always have a great result in the weekend with the Prem. If it's a shocking, if it's someone breaking a milestone, the Premier League is the most entertaining league, no doubt, in the world. The Premier League next season, I'm hyped up to see a Manchester United second season with Erik ten Hag. Newcastle will have more results. Arsenal will know more. And Liverpool fixed their midfield. And Chelsea, who will be the manager, and if Chelsea will be the same bad Chelsea of this season. So I'm hyped for next season. And Man City, out of Man City, out of 54 points in 2023, they have only dropped 8 points. 8 points. And this is because Ruben Dias is back, and he is the main reason, I'll say, next to Erling Haaland, obviously, that City win the Premier League this season. But great result from Arsenal against Newcastle. They did what they had to do against the best defense in the Premier League in terms of numbers, Newcastle. But Arsenal, you cannot stop, man. Arsenal, unbelievable. 2-0 win.
That first half was possibly one of the more entertaining first halves of football I've seen, at least in recent memory, because both sides had great chances. But listen, the first half was all Nick Pope keeping Newcastle in the game, and the second half was Aaron Ramsdale making some phenomenal saves.
True.
But it did feel like Arsenal had like a step up in their development, a step up in kind of knowing what they had to do and what they had to play with in order to get that result. But to get that result with Newcastle as good as they've been, that was showing something. And this, hey, this Premier League title fight, it ain't over yet. It ain't over. It feels over. It feels over, but it ain't over yet, okay? We've seen crazier things happen, but my goodness, Manchester City has just been so perfect.
Still needs to face Brighton, man.
No.
Arsenal. Man City, late stage 2023, they are not perfect because they had some glimpses, but the competition, man. And for Arsenal's main player this season, in my opinion, it's hard to choose between Martinelli, Saka, and Odegaard. But Arsenal's leader, Martin Odegaard, has 15 goals scored and 7 assists. No penalties. No penalties in the 15 goals scored. And it's the first time a duo with Martinelli and Odegaard both score more than 15 goals in the Premier League. That hasn't happened, okay? So I want to give huge credit to what Arteta is building with Arsenal. A hard win against Newcastle. You got Saka, you got Martinelli, you got all these players improving. And I have something I want to say, too, with the Premier League. EA Sports have released their best 11 of the season. It has Ramsdale in goal, Trippier, Saliba, Ruben Diaz, and Zinchenko in defense, and the 3 in midfield with Casemiro, Odegaard, Kevin De Bruyne, and the 3 forwards with Salah, Haaland, and Rashford. And notice how I didn't say Martinelli or Saka. EA Sports, do your research, man. There's a reason why Arsenal are in second, and these 2 wingers are definitely ahead of Salah this season, in my opinion. I'll say that. I wanted to leave that out. I wanted to put this out. Just a confession.
And that defense, that defense doesn't really make much sense either. But all right, come on.
Where? Well, Saliba maybe, yes, because of late form. But Ruben, yes. Trippier, yes. And Zinchenko, I agree.
I don't agree with Zinchenko, no.
Who's the left back, so? Interesting, bro. We'll have to think about that. But we'll have our 11s, right? We'll have our 11s in the future.
Soon enough. Sadly, we're coming to the end of the season here. But listen, I think when it comes down to it, I mean, Arsenal's what they've gotten out of Martinelli this come on, this is like beyond Mikel Arteta's wildest dreams. I don't think there was any expectation for them to be this high octane, this high power, this relatively consistent with, a few little minor hiccups here. But like Liverpool just spent what? 100+ million, more than that, in order to revamp their whole offense, and they couldn't even come close to this. Between Gakpo, Darwin, Diaz, I get it, a lot of injuries there, but when it comes down to it, Arsenal has just gotten so much out of what they've been able to do this season, and Odegaard is that kind of one, that glue that kind of keeps it all together. So it was very, very impressive, but I don't know, man. I mean, Arsenal's still got a few fixtures left. Is there a shade? Is there a percentage out of 100% where you think Manchester City bungles this? Say they get their hearts broken in this Champions League semifinal, and it demoralizes them, and they drop you think there's anything that puts Arsenal's hands on this trophy?
I think it's going to be, if they get it, it's not this season. It's going to be the next 2 seasons, in my opinion.
So
I think Man City...
Easier said than done, right?
Yeah, I think, exactly. Yeah. I think Man City, they have an experienced team. The main difference between Man City and Arsenal, in my opinion, is the Man City team is built around winners. They all won something in their life, and they are clearly intending to win the Premier League and the Champions League this season. Like, it's underrated, the fact that Foden will have 5 Premier League titles, okay? And he's under 23 still. 5 Premier League titles. Like the silverware that Foden can have at the end of his career will be definitely in the competition of one of the greatest Englishmen in terms of silverware, at least. Technique too. He doesn't look like an English player. So Man City, Arsenal are competing against this. So Arteta, the culture changed. And I think this transfer window for Arsenal fans will be very interesting what they do. I think they'll get another midfielder, Moises Caicedo or Declan Rice type midfielder, another centre back because you can't rely on holding in big games, and another forward or another forward that can play striker and winger. Or trust Balogun, please. Balogun's killing it in Liga, Arsenal. So I think they'll be better next season. I think better in the sense that it'll be more structured and expected success, and they'll get wins. I think Newcastle is just my biggest question mark on how they hit the market. My suggestions for Newcastle to hit the market is with Moussa Diaby, it's with Ugarte, and I would give everything for a Mason Mount type player. A player that understands what it is to play at the highest level for an English club with Chelsea, who won the Champions League. So that would be Bruno Guimaraes, Mount, Mason, and Ugarte. That's my suggestion.
Yep.
But, like, this is let's see.
That was a mouthful, man. That was a mouthful, but I'm going to tell you, based on, I know you mentioned Arsenal, Moises Caicedo. I believe his price tag probably just went up another $10 million once Mikel Arteta just found out he could potentially play right back, too.
Whoa, that's true.
My goodness. Moises Caicedo at right back in the win versus Manchester United. I get it was a 98th minute or something injury by Alexis McAllister that won the thing, but Brighton were toe-to-toe with Manchester United the whole way. True. And my goodness, I have to say it, Roberto De Zerbi, absolutely ballsy of him, because heading into this, you'd expect Caicedo, you'd expect Matoma, you'd expect McAllister, you'd expect them all to be in that best 11, that top 11, right, to face United. Who did he send out there? 21-year-old Billy Gilmore started. Okay, nothing against him, but he hasn't had a lot of game time this season. Sent out 18-year-old Facundo Buonanotte. He sent out, 19-year-old Julio Enciso. And they matched him. They matched him with vigor. They matched him with excitement. They matched him. They weren't quite toe-to-toe, but they were certainly stretching Manchester United. And I love it. But that also could have just horribly backfired in some respects. Like, this is Brighton fighting for a European competition for the first time, right? It, man. This is they do, but to have the balls to do that is very. It's either impressive or foolish, but this time it looked impressive. So I got to give it, and I am absolutely convinced for Liverpool fans. If you're spending $60 million on Alexis McAllister, he's every bit the price tag. I will put my weight behind this one. He is every bit the price tag. And I get it. Some people might feel McAllister's got a World Cup tax to him, but he has done nothing but show consistency since he came back. And it is always very weird to see somebody not break out in the Premier League first. He breaks out in the World Cup, wins a World Cup, and then comes back and essentially breaks out in the Premier League. This guy can do a lot for Liverpool. They're going to still need to spend. They're going to still need to spend, but Alexis McAllister would be a good first acquisition.
I like
100%.
it. I like it. You're mentioning the two clubs. I like it, and I agree with you. McAllister for 60 to 70 million to Liverpool gives guarantees, and that's what Liverpool need. Reminds me a bit of the Sadio Mane when they got him from Southampton. They know what he can do in the Prem, and they will invest in just that. McAllister is a baller, and that win against Man United, overall, Brighton deserve it. They were the best team in that game, and that 1-0 win with a penalty right at the end, and McAllister celebrating with a Messi celebration. That was iconic. It's an iconic memory for Brighton fans. And yes, McAllister's going to leave, but I've got a list. I always have a Brighton list because they tend to do this. Under 23 Brighton players to watch: Moises Caicedo, Evan Ferguson, Julio Enciso, loan Levi Colwill, Buonanotte. They have on loan Yassine Ayari. They have Kasper Kozlowski at St. Gilloise. They got Adingra. They got Aaron Connolly too on loan. So a lot of youth in the future of Brighton. They just know what to do with business. And De Zerbi is the greatest manager that they could have acquired for what they are doing. Okay, De Zerbi knows the plan. When he's chosen, he plays with the three center backs really well. And players like Billy Gilmore have improved. Moises Caicedo have improved. He understands the philosophy of Brighton. So once again, Brighton showing great management from the top.
They are, and I just think about what they've been through. Right? Not even. You remember the Southampton Liverpool connections? The Sadio Mane goes there every time Southampton, essentially signs somebody. Liverpool signs them next year for 3 times the price. Right? Chelsea. We all remember that, right? And it does. I completely understand. The Southampton parallel with Brighton because everybody feels like, well, look at Southampton now, right? Look at Southampton now and where they might go, and what's going to happen to them in the championship. They're the great escape. That does not feel like it's going to happen. And the difference here is that even though they've been poached, even though they've been kicked when they were down, even though they've had internal issues like Moises Caicedo, remember that, right? There was him saying he wanted to leave and then him kind of getting back to form. And that doesn't always happen. So the decisions they've been making internally, the standards and the ethos that they've built at Brighton, has been good for the last few seasons since they've been in the Premier League. It is whether or not they can take some sort of a next step, or just embrace that they're going to be essentially like the Ajax long-term, of the Premier League, where they're just a selling club. They're a selling club that embraces it and continues to give opportunities. But I hope.
I exit the Premier League is Arsenal, man.
Yeah. No, I know. I'm thinking more. I'm thinking more in transfer policy.
I get you.
I'm thinking more in transfer policy, not in
I get you.
But I love everything going on there, man, and I just hope that it doesn't necessarily turn into a situation where 2-3 seasons from now. And I'd love to hear what other people think. Do we feel like Brighton, that this is sustainable? Or will inevitably, if they embrace that selling, they get rid of McAllister, they get rid of Caicedo, they start to spend freely, are we worried that they turn into the next Southampton? And that 2-3 seasons from now, we find them in the championship again?
That is a good point. I don't think that will be the case because the owner is highly involved. He's highly involved. Yeah. And other clubs, St. Gilloise is improving, and he's showing results on that end too, and he's the owner of both clubs. And Liverpool, just wanted to say, Liverpool fans, see the end of the season as the pre-season. Leicester did this, and they won the Premier League after that season. Liverpool, until now, they got 6. Liverpool are in their 6th win in a row in the league. They have Trent with a new role. They got Salah that has reached the 30 goals in his 3rd straight season. And everybody knows that Liverpool's not succeeding this season because of the lack of depth in midfield. So we will know that we all know that next season, Liverpool are gonna go bold in the Premier League. And if you don't, you're being warned, because Liverpool will be playing with Trent in a new role, and they'll be solved with the fullbacks and midfield. So it's going to be very interesting, the Prem next season.
a couple months ago, I would have fought back on this. A couple months ago, but I do believe that the framework is there. That they do have the possibility to I don't know, to contend, I guess. To contend once again. I mean, the one thing is you think about this and you say, like, if you didn't extend Mo Salah, would you have more depth? Yeah, you would have more depth, I guess, in the midfield. You might have been able to reinvest, but I don't think the mistake was ever extending Mo Salah, right? I mean, the guy has given you 30-plus goals in 4 out of the last 6 seasons, every season in the last 3 seasons. He's now, Mo Salah is now the highest scoring Egyptian of all time, which is kind of awesome, I guess. And he had 180, he's now got 186 Liverpool goals, which ties with this kind of massive Liverpool legend named Steven Gerrard. Right? Mo Salah has done what he needs to do, for sure. You know where the mistake probably was? It was overspending on the attack that got decimated by injuries anyway. Right?
I agree.
And a little bit of that money could have been reinvested to provide some maybe cut rate midfield depth. But listen, all of that aside, I am 100% in the camp that Liverpool should be top 3, top 2 next season.
I agree with you. And they got Klopp too. Klopp knows what he needs to do to win a Premier League against Man City and Pep Guardiola. And not a lot of teams can say that in the Prem.
Yeah, I agree. And I do have one question for you because it's a really small sample size. It's literally been a few games, 1 month. But Trent Alexander-Arnold, I mean, did his movement essentially in the midfield or tucking into the midfield, whatever you want to call it, obviously he's been really, really high contribution, right? Since then. In this small sample size, do we believe that Trent Alexander-Arnold may have just saved a little money in pursuit of midfield depth at Liverpool?
I still think they're going to sign 2 midfielders. Even so, Trent can do that, but they should. They need depth. I think Trent playing the role he plays is crucial and needed, but they still need options. That's the biggest problem of Liverpool, in my opinion, this season. And on the Prem side, I want to say Harry Kane, has officially surpassed now Wayne Rooney on the all-time goal-scoring charts in the Premier League, and he's got 209 goals scored in the Premier League. This is one of the best strikers I've ever seen in England, and he will be remembered, even without trophies, he will be remembered as an elite striker for Tottenham and for the English national team too. I gotta say that. And Burnley, what an extension with Kompany. That's done. 2028 extension, and I'm very, very curious to see this rebuild in the Premier League of Burnley, because it made history in the Championship, becoming the team with, I think, the team that won the Championship fastest ever. So I'm very curious to see what's going to happen on that extent.
7 games remaining, right? 7 games remaining, and I think the bigger Houdini there, the bigger change was the fact that he turned Burnley from a name synonymous with bunker down, take your legs off, you'll never get past me, you'll die before you see the net, right? Type of football playing, to a Burnley that plays an incredibly attractive style of football. Now, whether or not he can replicate that, because he's obviously learned from the best, whether or not he can replicate that with obviously his current player personnel, or with really prudent signings next season, that remains to be seen, because they relied not just on loans last season, they relied on loans of young players. Okay, Ian Maatsen at fullback was absolutely ridiculously vital to how Vincent Kompany played last year. Manchester City's Taylor Harwood-Bellis was at center back. Nathan Tella came in, 23 years old, from Southampton, and scored ridiculous amounts of goals in 2023 for them to put a little room in between them and Sheffield United. So it is, you brought it up, I'm just going to kind of accentuate it. It is going to be a crazy little tightrope that he's going to have to walk for Burnley to stay up next season. They play a really cool style of play, but whether or not it translates and they make all the right signings, that's going to remain to be seen. But I love that you shouted it out. I didn't expect that to happen in the Premier League section.
You're saying about relegation, and the last club that we got to talk here, and want to mention United fast. Garnacho extension until 2028. The right move. I'm very hyped to see one of the best wingers, young wingers, under 20 definitely, in the Premier League. And right move from Erik ten Hag. And the best midfield, no doubt in my mind, this season of Man United, it's Casemiro, Eriksen, and Bruno Fernandes. They have to get more options in midfield. Don't rely on a McTominay. Sabit said, yes, he's been good at given times, but get more midfielders and better midfielders to win a Premier League against Man City. But Chelsea, whoa, they got a midfielder with Enzo Fernandez. And Enzo Fernandez, the best, has not been seen at Chelsea, no doubt in my mind. Because the Chelsea team is not a high-functioning team around him. And Mudryk too. No. 15 games, 0 goals. This happens not because he's not talented, because he doesn't have a functional side around him. So I wanted to say this. Yes, they won a game. Lampard has finally won a game for Chelsea, okay, in those last 7 games. But the record in his last 21 games as a manager, it's 17 losses. And that is very bad for Chelsea. Very bad.
It is.
And Everton.
And you know, one of the keys, right? One of the keys, and I never really understood why he got dropped. Literally one of the only good or I should say, one of the only successful acquisitions so far in terms of have won more games, I guess, than he's lost when he started, has been Benoit Badiashile, the big center back, who, guess what? Scores his first Premier League goal versus Brentford, and guess what? Chelsea win when he's on the pitch. And he's the one that was left off the Champions League list. He's also the one that, for some reason, was just put behind everybody else. But it's not an actual thesis. It's not an actual kind of, I guess, major point here, but it does speak a little bit of volume that it was a Conor Gallagher and a Chalobah, right, that wind up having the outsized influence on the game for Chelsea to win and scrape that win 3-1 against Brentford. I think it was 3-1. It just goes to show Bournemouth. I'm sorry, you're right, not against Brentford.
Liverpool
against Bournemouth, and it just goes.
Brentford.
Thank you. It just goes to show you, though, that like Chelsea, we've said this before, but Chelsea was not some broken down club 6 months after they won the Champions League. They were not. They were never that. I get it. Conor Gallagher is not Enzo Fernandez, but Conor Gallagher has a role to play in this squad, just not the role that he's currently playing. Okay, and it really comes down to the fact that the Todd Boehly bull in a china shop approach led the majority of these guys to some of the worst morale probably in their careers. Yeah. Okay, because he was bringing in, you get a new player, you get a new player, you get a new player, you flood the zone with all sorts of personalities. And how do you not sit there and go, am I on this team sheet? They sold me a bill of goods to come here. They paid me a lot of money, so I guess I'm getting paid well. But am I even part of this vision? And that is a really, really simple thing to like run back and say, that's where it went wrong.
Yeah.
Because there is enough talented footballers at Stamford Bridge right now that obviously they should be much closer to European positions than they are to relegation, which is currently still Chelsea's reality. All right. So I think Chelsea's not going to be top 3 next season, but I think they will move a whole lot higher than I guess we might give them credit for. But it all comes down to whether or not Bowley's actually learned a lesson.
Well, they can be top 3, Bretson, if they get the right manager.
Yeah.
They can be top 3. I really believe they could with the right manager, because Chelsea this summer, I fully expect a huge summer sale of players like Ziyech. They should have sold him on the line with PSG. They were focused on Enzo. Ridiculous. Aubameyang went wrong. Kovacic deserves more respect elsewhere. Mason Mount, he deserves more respect too. Gallagher, I don't know. I'm not sold on him. Pulisic might leave, but a lot of players are going to leave. And Thiago Silva too. He's had enough, as it seems, in Chelsea. Kante too might be leaving. So they just need a whole reorganization. And you said it. The main reason why Chelsea was so poor this season was because Todd Boehly signed a load of players. A load of players. Even more places needed to be added in the locker room, which is an absolute madness, dysfunctional decision. And Todd Boehly never appointed a better manager than the previous one. Check. Graham Potter. Graham Potter is not better than Tuchel, and Lampard is not better than Graham Potter. That is facts in my opinion, and he better appoint a better manager for the next season, because that's what it's needed. Minimal requirements. Minimal requirement. And Lampard had his first win since March 11th. That's how bad things are right now. And they avoided mathematically the relegation battle. Chelsea is absolutely devastated right now, and devastating to look right now. But I do not subscribe to the Arsenal fans that are mocking Chelsea this season. Chelsea could mock Arsenal for the last 2 decades. Non-stop. Okay, the invisible Aaron. Okay. The last decade. The last decade non-stop. Yep. So let's wait and see how they will bounce back, because they won 2 Champions Leagues in the last few years. So it's not insane to say Chelsea, the bottom has already been hit. The bottom has already been hit. It's only up from here. You said Thiago Silva might already be out of there. Well, if he's not, he'll probably be divorced, because his wife is definitely already out of London.
because she's the one I think on Twitter that's kind of like, well, my husband doesn't this, my husband doesn't that,
Well,
right?
that's it.
Or girlfriend, yeah.
That's
it, right?
His wife. Yeah. Oh my days.
Before we move on from Premier League, really, really quickly, pour one out for Leeds United. It was not Jesse Marsh's fault. Whatever's going there, they finally did the right thing. I think it's still going to kind of wind up with relegation, which is sad, but they finally did the right thing, and they got rid of the guy that was pulling the strings, kind of Todd Boehly style in this sense, but it's Vitor Roque is finally out at Leeds United, which I think as the season progressed, people started to realize, why are we spending $35 million on Reuter when we're not going to play him, right? So hopefully Leeds United can bounce back, because there was a period of time where we all got behind, whether it was Bielsa or Marsh, we got behind kind of how they were playing, and how they were employing and who they were employing. But as of right now, I don't think they've hit the bottom yet.
I agree.
And
I agree.
It's a bummer.
It's Leeds keeping these players too will be very hard, like a Brendan Aronson,
it will.
Rasmus Christensen. These are all players with high expectations. Tyler Adams. That can be said.
McKennie's already checked out. I can tell you that much. He's already checked out. He's halfway to another club. But yeah.
So all these players, man, let's wait and see what's gonna happen with Leeds United. But tell us down below what you expect from the Premier League. What haven't we mentioned? And just go bold, okay, with the topics, because we like to see those comments down below on YouTube. And if you're listening until now, do not forget to like this video, episode 104. But if we mentioned bad ownership with Todd Boehly, I'm going to mention to excellent ownership now on the other end with Napoli.
Yeah,
Napoli deserve recognition. One of the best teams last summer in the transfer market. De Laurentiis went bold with his decision-making, especially when Koulibaly, Mertens, and Insigne just left. Napoli went bold and won the first Scudetto in 33 years, and the first time to reach the quarterfinals of the Champions League. I really believe that De Laurentiis is aiming to win the Champions League. It can be done if they keep players like Kvaratskhelia, Osimhen, Lobotka, Min-jae Kim. These are key players for the successful Napoli, and fullback Matias Oliveira. What a player. They deserve everything that's coming for them. I want to say that.
I think it's absolutely wonderful. 33 years of waiting. And listen, it's not only those that they brought in. They got such a different quality from guys like Lobotka, right? From guys, the supporting cast, if you will, from guys like Zielinski, from a lot of their backup players that came in trying to prove a point, right? Even Chucky Lozano, come on, becoming the first Mexican to win the Scudetto. That's pretty awesome,
That's
right?
Awesome.
And I hate saying great things about Mexican players, and I'm probably going to do it again in a little bit. But listen, it's great stuff. But it's so crazy. It is so insane how De Laurentiis either got so incredibly fortunate or is so amazing at making these transfers. He hit on almost 99% of his signings last season. And not only that, they were good enough to win the Scudetto with. Min-jae Kim was in the Chinese Super League not just 2 seasons ago. Chinese Super League in Beijing, okay? Then he went to Fenerbahce, had a great season, and nobody looked at Fenerbahce's season and said, oh, Min-jae Kim is going to be the best on the planet. My goodness, he made Koulibaly, as much as I like Koulibaly, an afterthought in Napoli. And that is really hard to do. And then to hit on a guy that was at Dinamo Batumi, right, honing his skills in his home country of Georgia. I'm talking about Kvaratskhelia here. To pay as little as he did for him, and for him to come in and literally transform defenses in Serie A because nobody knew how to defend the guy. Once again, I don't know if that is absolute just mental acuity and just being so good at your job, or there's an element of luck and fortune to it, which makes you think that once Napoli is done celebrating this, which will probably be next decade, let's be honest, but once they're done celebrating this well-deserved Scudetto, what's next? How do you build this team?
It's Champions
Yeah,
League.
I know.
They have to stay with Osimhen. I think the real test of Napoli will be to keep Osimhen and Kvaratskhelia like they kept Mertens and Insigne. If that happens, they literally have a chance to get the Champions League. They really, really do, in my opinion. And I'm in Jay Kim too at center back. I'll say the Osimhen signing for Napoli, he was the most expensive signing ever of Napoli. £72 million, highest expectations. And now, I might say he's the best African player in the world. And he's got 23 goals scored and 4 assists in Serie A. He's been fundamental. And De Laurentiis went bold by signing such a bold fee to 70 million for Napoli, a team that hadn't won the Serie A too. And this season, no doubts in my mind, Osimhen's gonna win the best player of Serie A, and no doubts in my mind, Vitor Osimhen is gonna be the MVP of the Serie A, and the young player of the season deserves to go to Kvaratskhelia. No doubt. He might be the second, okay? But if they did it like this, Osimhen MVP, and youngest player Kvaratskhelia, it would just make sense in my opinion. And Spalletti, one more season. It's been revealed, one more season of Spalletti, and that's very, very important. And two, Vitor Osimhen became the all-time leading goal scorer in one season. Vitor Osimhen became the all-time leading African player in one season in Serie A, surpassing Samuel Eto'o. Vitor Osimhen did that this season. A legend of Napoli, just like Maradona, just like Hamsik. Osimhen is a legend now of Naples. Wanted to say.
Yeah, and listen, I'm not here to put any sort of negativity on the back of what is a absolutely fundamentally incredible experience, celebration that's going on right in Napoli. But there will be a reversion to the mean for some of these players next season. Okay,
I don't know.
and but what that simply means is that the form. Excuse me, my voice just cracked. Wow, I sounded like an 11-year-old boy for a second. That the reversion to the mean just simply means that they can't run as well in form. We've actually gotten a glimpse of it over the last few months, right? Napoli has not been that Napoli that we saw that was just unbeatable for a long period of time and blitzing Liverpool, right, in the Champions League. But when it comes down to it, Oliveira is not going to be, say, a world-class fullback. Okay,
he can be.
I don't think so.
I disagree there.
Okay, well, we can agree to disagree on that, but there is some issues that he's going to have to work through, and it's going to come down like Osimhen, absolutely world class. Kvaradskhelia, phenomenal first season. Let's see what he does in his second. That's all I have to say about that. He has been absolutely transcendental this season. But let's see what his second season looks like, okay? Because it's a small sample size. Yes, he was running riot in the Russian Super League or whatever it's called, right? He was running riot previous to that, but he was not, scoring 15 goals, assisting 15 goals a season. He was not doing it there. So the small sample size and how much has gone right for Napoli this season is going to make them, obviously, just like AC Milan last season, it's going to make them the most watched Serie A club or the most watched Champions League club heading into this next season, because I do think there will be a reversion to the mean, and I do think that Napoli needs to spend and maybe needs to let go of one of their stars to be able to reinvest. To be able to reinvest properly in this. And I think if you're smart, you're already looking to pick up a guy like Victor Boniface to back up Osimhen. Right? Don't bring in Raspadori on loan. Don't bring Simeone on loan, which actually was a stroke of brilliance this season. Bring in Boniface, get him for 15, 20 million from San Gilwaz. He's Nigerian. He's 22, 21 years old. Let him learn from Osimhen for a season and use him as depth. That's one step, right, from here on out, because if he's not leaving this season, he's definitely leaving next season, Osimhen.
I don't know, man. I really don't know what De Laurentiis. This man, he said, I will not sell Osimhen this season. No chance. And
unless he's given 100 million reasons. To say yes.
But who did they... it's not who they signed. It's irreplaceable. But Boniface, I like that shout from Royal St. Gilloise. I just think he might be going to Brighton. He might be going to Brighton. But I like that shout. I think Napoli, but Matias Oliveira, again, offensively, as a fullback, he's one of my favorite players to watch. In my opinion,
Okay.
I think he'll remain a big time player. Napoli, I think Min Jae Kim, I think Lobotka,
Yeah.
I think Kvaradona, and Ozime. These for sure will have to, and Matias Oliveira, they have to stay. Players that they can leave, Lozano, I think he might leave. He's got a market too.
Yeah.
And Peter Zielinski. Zielinski's got a market too. A lot of teams need a midfielder like him too. So people, tell us down below. Do you share the same thought as Breton? Or do you think that Napoli will go bold in the Champions League next season? That De Laurentiis is giving that vibe. He's giving me that vibe. And I don't want to say Laporta. I don't want to transition to Laporta because people, we got a big segment in this video. At the end of podcast episode 104, we're going to talk about the breakout stars of the season 2022-2023. A lot of young players, but we might have some under 26 players in the mention. And a lot of players, if you know Brighton, you know who we're going to mention in this team. But exciting times, Brighton. Aren't we going to be mentioning great players?
We are. We absolutely are. And I don't know why I spent so much time on this, but I did. And I've got lists of players. We're not going to name them all, but yes, Breakout 11 was hard to do. This is why we love football. This is why it's FC Wonderkid. Not just Wonderkid, but the breakout season is kind of what you and I live for. Those players that we all probably didn't know much about the season prior, and now they are doing everything they can to make a name for themselves in a massive world of football. So do you want to start with your goalkeeper? What would you give?
I'll start here with my goalkeeper, and I want to justify this is a breakout player internationally. He's not a breakout player for me watching Portuguese football. I knew the talent of this player, but my breakout my breakout stars, defenders edition of this season, I will put Diogo Costa, goalkeeper, starter internationally for Portugal. Huge breakout, 1 save and 1 assist in 1 Champions League game. Then defenders with Destiny Udogie, Levi Colville, Antonio Silva, and Jeremy Frimpong. This is my breakout defenders edition 11.
I like it. Well, I will go with one. I've been watching a lot of Ligue 1 this season, and obviously we've all heard of the 30-year-old Will Still, although everybody's forgotten about him now that Stade Reims' unbeaten streak has come to an end, and they're still spending, I think, 22,000 or so to keep him employed because he doesn't have the proper credentials. But listen, his goalkeeper has been a massive, massive part of it. Stade Reims goalkeeper Yvan Diouf. How do you say that? Diouf? 23 years old. He's only conceded 21 goals in 27 Ligue 1 games. He leads Ligue 1. Okay? Remember, this is Ligue 1 with Donnarumma in it. He leads Ligue 1 in clean sheets, 14. He leads it in the least goals conceded a game with 0.8. He's top in the league with, I think, save percentage, 82% of shots faced he has saved. And on top of that, he is on top of the league, again, with Donnarumma in it, in goals prevented. So he blanked PSG twice. He blanked PSG once. He's blanked Nice. They've beaten Lille. They've clean sheeted Lille. They've clean sheeted Monaco. So if you don't know his name, definitely keep an eye out for him because I think he's going to be kind of like one of the more hot commodities, at least for some of the bigger clubs. Do you have any other names that you bandied about in there, or goalkeeper was hard?
No. That was a hard one. Yeah, Lafont can't be mentioned. Martin van der Voort, he's already known by people.
He's good,
but that's a good mention.
Only other guy I gotta mention is Mark Flecken from Freiburg. Freiburg continues to be up pretty high in the Bundesliga table, but most people that probably weren't watching the Bundesliga wouldn't have really recognized his name when that Dutch World Cup squad was announced, and they're like, who the heck is Mark Flecken? Well, Mark Flecken is one of the better and more consistent goalkeepers in the Bundesliga. He's also older. I think he's 26, 27. But beyond that, Yvan Diouf. El Hadji Diouf, right? Is that how you say it? Remember his name from Bolton? Why can't I say his name? Anyway, on to the fullbacks. What do you want to start with? You want to start with left back? Because I think we're going to be unanimous.
I said the defenders. I said it already. The defenders, Udogie, Levi Colville, Antonio Silva, and Frimpong Bretzen.
Wait, how did you do Udogie?
I said Udogie. Destiny Udogie, left back. Yeah.
Yeah, but how did you do Udogie when Alejandro Balde?
Ah, that's a good mention. I thought you were gonna say that's the best breakout. You're right. You're right. I have to confess.
Okay.
That's the best left
Okay.
back breakout. That is true.
That's why I just thought you were like mentioning a name to mention a name. I also, my brain is absolute puddle right now. But listen, my left back is Alejandro Balde. My center back is Min Jae Kim. I know he's not necessarily young. My other center back is Antonio Silva, and my right back, I'm hesitant to put him, but Jeremy Frimpong.
You
because
I'm so wrong. You mentioned it. Now I'm thinking about that.
Frimpong, 19 goal involvements, man. And the only reason he doesn't get a breakout shout from last season is because injury cut it short for him. But he has been nothing short of incredible under Xabi Alonso. And I also really did want to throw, at that right back position, Rico Lewis, because of how highly Pep Guardiola has just been about him. Like, Pep Guardiola has basically said, Rico Lewis kind of made us all hungry again, right? In that, when we were languishing in second, we were kind of fighting to get back to Arsenal. Rico Lewis showed us how to fight for the ball. I don't know if he said it in as many words,
he's 5'6",
but
he's 5'6",
yeah.
Rico Lewis, and the fact that he
has
that
fights
ambition,
like he's 7 foot.
Exactly. Yep. He has that ambition. That is great. I'm going to confess. I'm going to change. It's not Udogi. It's not Udogi.
Yeah.
One of the breakout players there, though, in Serie A is going to Tottenham next season. So people watch out for that. But I'm going to correct it in Balde. Thank you, Breton, for spitting facts with your left back, because it's facts.
I try.
But mention Samuel Illing Jr. Quick mention for the left back. He scored his first goal for Juve in his first start, and he's the first Englishman in in the 1990s to score a goal for Juve. So that is a massive and great influence. So
this is not a breakout, but I do from the left back side of things. Okay, I have Alejandro Balde, but one of the left backs we have to talk about, Pervis Estupinan. I know he's not under 23 anymore, but it still remains one of the best signings of the entire Premier League season.
True,
right?
But he was important for Villarreal, though.
He was important, but I guess, him kind of coming out and being in the Premier League, I don't know. It feels a little bit different. Okay, I get where you're going with that. I completely understand it. But more impressively, I just need to throw out there that Cucurella, I believe, was sold to Chelsea for 65, and Estupinan was signed for a very prudent 18 million euros. Oh, 15 million? 15 million. So it's a net 50 million euro gain on this, and that alone makes it at least a breakout fiscally. Only other person we got to mention is Milos Kerkic from AZ Alkmaar, who will be fighting in the Europa Conference League semifinals. He has been nothing short of astounding, actually, and could be on his way to
Benfica. Could be for 20 million. So left backs break out this season. We got Samuel Illing Jr., we got Milos Kerkez, we've got Destiny Udogi, and the best one, we have to say, is Alejandro Balde for Barca. Great mentions. Left backs, too, people. There's not a lot of left backs to watch, so the fact that we're mentioning here left backs, that's people. Put down below. Put down below if you're impressed with that, and put down below your suggestion for for breakout players, defenders. So the midfield now. I'm playing in a 4-3-3, and my breakout midfield, of this season has Enzo Fernandez, Xavi Simons, and Onari. These three midfielders, they burst onto the scene this season and for first team football. Xavi Simons can be said as one of the best midfielders in Eredivisie. Definitely the best midfielder going forwards. Xavi Simons is that guy. 2 times the best player in Eredivisie this season. Unreal. More than 15 goals for PSV. With Fabio Silva going
that's Xavi Simons, that Johan Bakayoko. I mean, PSV is giving opportunities. Ruud van Nistelrooy is giving opportunities to guys that deserve it. But yeah, Xavi Simons going from not really playing a lick of professional ball to being the leading scorer in the Eredivisie for a little while. That's some impressive stuff. So I actually have him in my midfield as well. My midfield is, I'm going to go the other end of that Argentina little duo you're going to mention. I'm going to say Alexis McAllister from Brighton. Obviously hesitant to put him in there because he's a little bit older, but Alexis McAllister, Xavi Simons, and Gabri Vega is mine for Celta de Vigo. And he's one that I think Real Madrid is homing in on. And if they don't get Jude Bellingham or they got some money left in the coffers, I could see them bringing Gabri Veiga in. And Gabri Veiga has been, just look up, what he's done in La Liga. He's not heard about because he's not, in the top 3 teams, right? He's not Atleti, he's not Barcelona, and he's not Real Madrid. But he has been nothing short of amazing for Celta. But dude, the depth in these midfielders here, I mean, there's so many names here. Just tell me, from a breakout perspective, beyond McAllister, Simmons, Vega, Ugarte, Lavia, Fagioli from Juve, Vermeeren from Royal Antwerp, Koksu from Feyenoord, Lefebvre from Lorient. Jacob Ramsey has had a phenomenal season for Aston Villa. Definitely breakout there. Arda Güler, Fenerbahce, finally getting played by George Jesus. Rayon Cherki. Desiree Doué from Stade Rennais. But anyway, just such an amazing list there, some of which are higher up than others, like Ugarte's a very known quantity, but I just love how many breakout stars there have been this season.
And you're mentioning Ugarte. Ugarte, for me, will definitely be heading to the Premier League, one of the best defensive mid talents available in the summer, and he will be a starter for Uruguay in the future next to Fede Valverde and Bentancur. What a midfield they're building Uruguay. That is ridiculous. And João Neves, I want to say breakout star. And at the end of the season too, João Neves at the start of the season was as a substitute for Benfica B. Now he's starting for Benfica in their most important game this season with Braga. Okay,
That's
and they
amazing.
won it. They won it. João Neves was involved at 18. Resembles a lot João Moutinho. He resembles him. The vision, the tidiness playing. He doesn't take risks, but when he does, it's a great forward pass. So please pay attention to João Neves. But great list of players we're mentioning here. And again, if we haven't mentioned a player that you're thinking, put down below in the comments section. We want to see those comments bursting with suggestions. But the 3 forwards, Breton. I'm excited to hear these 3 forwards that you have. Like, it'll be hard.
This is tough.
It'll be hard.
There's so many. First off, so many strikers, a lot of left wingers. So I know there's going to be a little flexibility thrown in there. But I'm going to stick with a right winger, a true right winger, true left winger, and a striker. So my left winger, come on, we've talked about him before. I couldn't get away from it, even though it put some other people down there. My left winger, breakout star Kavica Kvaratskhelia, Napoli. My striker is going to surprise you. It's Santiago Jimenez, a goal in 8 consecutive Eredivisie games. He's got 12 goals and 14 Eredivisie starts in 2023, and he is literally the guy that put Feyenoord over the finish line and looking at their first trophy in a little while in the Eredivisie. So Jimenez, Mexican striker, I have to do it as much as it hurts me. And right wing is going to surprise you. You ready? My right wing broke out last season at the exact right time for Real Madrid. But he has broken out for the entire season. It's a little bit of a cheat, but it's Rodrigo. Because, come on, Rodrigo, Vinicius Jr., Benzema, Rodrigo, that is your 3. And I'd love to see a few more years of it if Benzema can do it. But Rodrigo has become absolutely vital to Ancelotti's Real Madrid. And I had to throw him out there instead of throwing a left winger over there. So Rodrigo's my right winger.
I like
it's a cheat. I agree.
And to go with what you're saying, Rodrigo has improved massively this season. But last season, he was a clutch Rodrigo with that goal in the last second with Man City. But this season, he's got 16 goals and 10 assists, Rodrigo Goes. And he will be a La Galactico for the next decade, for sure. But, what a hard choice it is for forwards. And I cheated, yes. I put 2 left wingers. I did that, okay. Right. But I believe Kvaratskhelia can go to the other wing because in-game, he can play right wing too. I believe Kvaratskhelia has that in his skill set. So my 3 forwards, I have Kairo Mitoma. What a breakout season in the Premier League. The highest goal scorer in one season. Japanese in the Premier League doing history. Forward, I have Rasmus Holland that scored all 5 goals of Denmark, okay, in the last international break. And I have right wing Kvisha Kvaratskhelia, the best signing in Serie last season for the amount it was for the output he got. 10 million. Kvisha Kvaratskhelia. And for many, Kvaradona. But strikers, Rasmus Højlund, Santiago Jimenez. Great shouts, Bretson. Great shouts. I love how you're saying that.
It has to be, because we're forgetting. I mean, the depth there. You picked Holland. Also, another very possible transfer target for Napoli if they want to do it. But Santiago Jimenez, Holland. But listen to these guys. Evan Ferguson, right? For Brighton. Okay, phenomenal. Balogun at one point was leading the Golden Boot in Lyon. We've got Victor Boniface, who we talked about, who did well not just in the Europa League, but also obviously for Union Saint-Gilloise. Lois Openda, who is basically Belgium's future, right? At striker, who I think has 18 plus, 19 plus goals in Lyon. Gift Orban, KA Ghent, another Norwegian, another Nigerian striker. And then the last one is the guy that just hit a flippin' poker against Lyon. Eli Wahi, 20-year-old French striker, just hit for a poker against Lyon. And you ready for this? Still lost. Still lost because of a guy named Alexander Lacazette, who now leads the Golden Boot with 24 goals in Ligue 1 because he scored 2 goals in the last 10 minutes to have a poker of his own to win the game 5-4. But Eli Wahi, my goodness. So many strikers.
Oh, that's
so
clutch,
many strikers,
man. Oh, my days. Oh, Lacazette really went bold with that. They really went bold. So the list of strikers put down below. Is there a striker that we didn't mention with this breakout 11? And I'm going to say now, my breakout 11 of 2022-23 season has Diogo Costa internationally for Portugal. Then I have Balde, Levi Colville, Antonio Silva, and Frimpong. My 3 in midfield with Enzo, Xavi Simons, and Onahi. And my 3 forwards with Mitoma, with Rasmus Højlund, and with Kvaradona at the right wing. Hey, you're so bold of a team, in my opinion. Oh,
like it. Before I name mine, would Martinelli be a breakout this season? Why do we not have Martinelli?
Well,
I mean, he's a true left winger. That'd be tough.
Well, but that is a well point. No, but he is better than Mitoma for me this season.
He is better than Mitoma.
He's got 15 goals, and I like how you say that. I think in importance, it's been a breakout season for Martinelli. Yeah. But as known as a player, I think he was already very, very known. So for the people at home, they knew what Martinelli was about with that Chelsea goal. I might say that was his breakout to the world after he did that run against Chelsea. So that's how I justify.
You make me feel a little better, and also, he's a left winger, and I don't think as good as I did, but I think as big as Martinelli has been, obviously Kvaratskhelia at left wing has been much bigger this season in terms of them winning their first Scudetto in 33 years. So my breakout 11 here is Yevan from Stade Reims, 23-year-old goalkeeper, Balde left back. Center backs are Min Jae Kim and Antonio Silva. Right back is Jeremy Frimpong. My midfield is McAllister, Xavi Simons, and Gabri Vega from Celta. Check him out. And my up top, you've got at left wing Kvaratskhelia. You've got at striker Santiago Jimenez, as much as it pains me, El Tree striker. And right winger, confusing everybody, it's Rodrigo.
I like how you said it, confusing everybody.
Yeah, that's my job here. But we didn't mention the center backs, Scalvini and Lukeba and Hincapie. I mean, I would even call Andreas Christensen a breakout season based on how high you've been on him for Barcelona this season. I know he played for Chelsea previously, but
that's true.
And Nathan Ake. Would you put Nathan Ake in breakout? No. I know he played for Bournemouth. I know he played for Chelsea previously. But the season he's having is just such a ridiculous 800 levels above any season he's ever had in football.
I agree, but it's like Jude Bellingham. Jude Bellingham, he's been better this season, but last season he was already scoring in the Champions League too. So I kind of get where you're coming from, but at the other side, I'm like, I still consider quite good 11. So tell us down below your 11 of breakout stars. My last mention, and I think I will say in the breakout stars of next season will be Vitor Roque. That Barca, please, if you're selling Rafinha, if you're selling Fati, sign Vitor Roque that has the potential of Hendrik. If you see Brasileirão, you know what Vitor Roque is about. Next to Pedri, Gavi, Ronaldo Araújo, Balde, Vitor Roque matches that potential. So please just get that done, Barca. I wanted to leave that message. Please.
That's good. And the last message that I will leave is a funny tweet I think I stole from Football Tweet, who definitely stole it from somebody else. Okay, or maybe it was Troll Football on Twitter. But you were giving me a little bit of grief for cheating on Rodrigo. Okay, understood. I just realized I forgot to put it in the notes. Do you know the last 2 goal scorers in the Premier League against Manchester City? You know what their names are?
Vinicius and Rodrigo.
Carlos Vinicius, yep, and Rodrigo for Leeds United. So I don't know. Does that mean that they're gonna cook? Real Madrid's gonna open up a can of something on Manchester City, or it's just a happy coincidence, I guess.
No.
But no. All I can say is I'm stoked. We're gonna get back to doing lives again one day, but as of right now, I cannot wait to watch this week of football ahead. And hey, anything else to add there?
Yes, I think Sadio Mane might be leaving too. Declan Rice might be leaving too. And Usemaor has been confirmed that he'll be going to Roma, most likely. And we'd love to see now, down below, we want to see where do you think Neymar will go? Where do you think Messi will go? Because I'll end up with this bold statement. Neymar leaving Barcelona was not just the biggest mistake of Barcelona. It was the biggest mistake of Neymar's career to accept going to PSG. I believe if he had stayed at Barca, he would have won a Ballon d'Or in the meantime until now with Barca. I really believe that would have happened, in my opinion.
Wow.
And Barca, since selling Neymar to 220 million, they got a Coutinho, they got Griezmann afterwards too. A whole bunch of wrong decisions. Dembele was unfortunately injury prone, so they shouldn't have sold Neymar. The Deku has reportedly said Neymar was forced to leave Barca. Deku has said this. No one has more inside info about Barca than Deku. So please
the new
respect.
Alemany, right?
He would be the good Alemany. He would be really good Alemany.
You think so?
I believe in Deku. Deku he has a football agency here in Portugal. I've managed to see what the players and he attracts and the businesses he does. And he always does better for the players. Not a lot of players go wrong with Deku. And that shows that he knows about football. He knows about football management. So, Alemany to Aston Villa, that's another one. That's an interesting one. They keep on winning.
It was a pretty surprising exit there.
That's true.
But we'll see. I mean, Barcelona, once again, going to be the talk of the town when it comes to this transfer window, whether or not they can afford Messi, blah, 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 blah. But I am interested. I do have one last question for you because we didn't talk about the Europa League, and I feel bad. But it seems AC Milan. It seems AS Roma, Mourinho is kind of he's out of the Champions. He's out of all European spots at this moment in time. I believe he's in 8th. Okay, maybe 7th. Okay, so they've got a little work to do in Serie A. Do you think that little mix-up, that little mess-up, is going to affect their fixture against Bayer Leverkusen this week?
I think when his knockout stages, Mourinho just goes bold, and it's going to be very difficult for Xabi Alonso to get what he wants against Jose Mourinho and Roma. So I'll be leaning more on Roma, but my favorite team to watch this season is Bayer Leverkusen. That unfortunately lost this weekend. I was so sad when that happened. But Xabi Alonso can be considered the breakout manager. When we were talking about breakout players, Xavi might be the breakout manager next to Will Still too. So I just
next to Will Still. I love it. I love it. But for those watching, it's Bayer Roma and it's Juve, who's back in form, versus Sevilla, the perennial Europa League winners. I said Juventus before. I'm going to say it again. I think Juventus is strong enough, and I'm going to say it in Europa Conference League. I think West Ham's going to win it all.
Oof, David Moyes. That saves David Moyes' season at West Ham.
It does. It's like a good and a bad thing for West Ham fans that want him gone.
He's so lucky that Antonio's fit too. Antonio, because no striker tends to work now. If his name is not Mikel Antonio with David Moyes at West Ham. Oh my days, what is needed? But tell us down below, what have you missed in episode 104? And if you're listening until now, please smash that like button and go bold with your predictions in the comment section. Thank you. Thank you so much for listening until now. And thank you for going bold on another podcast, people.